Now, allow me to introduce the dedicated York International team. First, we have Eugene Lee, who is the International Student Experience Coordinator, overseeing the orientation and transition portfolio. As previously mentioned, I am Tirth, and joining me are my colleagues Zank and Anika. By the end of this webinar, you should have a better grasp about housing options available for international students at York University. We'll be covering the on-campus housing choices, the application process, as well as a few key deadlines. You will also learn the benefits of living on campus as a first-year student, and then we'll be touching more on housing options available off campus as well. Our agenda for the day includes an informative presentation on living on campus, followed by options for living off campus. After that, we'll have a question and answer session to address any concerns that you folks may have. And then we'll be wrapping it up with some information about a few upcoming webinars and events that you folks can attend. To set the ball rolling, we'll begin by inviting Housing Services at York University. The Housing Services team is dedicated to helping students find the right accommodation on campus, as well as provide support for students who are looking to live off campus. On that note, I would now like to invite Aaron to head the presentations. The floor is yours, Aaron.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron. I am the Assistant Manager for Off-Campus Housing at Housing Services on York University's Keele campus. And I'm very excited to be sharing a little bit of information about our housing services with all of you today. So to get started, I do want to talk about on-campus residence a little bit and the options that we have surrounding that. So we'll start with an introduction to housing at York. I think I have slide control. Oh, too far. There we go. So to give a broad overview of the housing options at York, we have three main campuses at York University. We've got the Keele campus, the Glendon campus, and the Markham campus. And we have residence options at all three. So the Keele campus, we currently have 9 undergraduate residence buildings, and you can see their locations actually on the map to the right here, and 6 graduate apartment buildings. At the Glendon campus, it's a bit smaller. We've got 2 undergraduate residence buildings. And at our new Markham campus, we now have 1 off-campus undergraduate and graduate residence building situated within a condo building. So at the Keele campus, we have the bulk of our options, and it's what I'll be focusing on in this presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions that folks may have about Glendon or Markham residence options as well. So to give a bit of an overview of our Keele residences, I want to start with the furnishings. So this is what will be included in your room, regardless of if you're living in a traditional or a suite style room. All of our rooms are outfitted with these basic furnishings. So it'll come with a single bed, and that is just the bed and the mattress. So you need to bring your own bed sheets and duvet or anything else that you need for the bed. It'll come with a lamp, a desk, a chair, a dresser, a closet, and a garbage bin. So this comes in every residence room. All the residence rooms have a window as well, and they're all roughly the same size. So it's about as big as the photo that you're seeing here. Some of our rooms are carpeted and others have laminate floors, depending on the residence building. And so we offer 2 different styles of rooms. Our traditional style rooms are our standard double and single rooms. So you would be sharing common washrooms and lounges with the other students living on your floor. And those common washrooms and lounges are cleaned by our housing staff. And typically traditional style residences are a preferred choice for our first year students. They're a great way to make new friends. You're more integrated with the community. You're seeing people more often. And you don't have to worry about cooking and cleaning for yourself, which is a great benefit to those who are looking to focus on making that adjustment to university life and residence life, and not having to focus on things like cooking and cleaning. And students living in traditional style residences are required to have a dining plan because our trad residences don't offer any kitchen facilities. On the contrary, our suite style residences also offer single and double rooms, but those are within a smaller suite. So you're sharing the washrooms and kitchen facilities with less students, only those who are sharing the suite with you. We offer 4, 6, 12, and 2-person suites at York, and these are typically a preferred choice for our upper year students who tend to prefer to cook, clean for themselves, and want a little bit more of that independent living compared to our traditional style residences. And we do offer an optional dining plan for students living in suite style residence, but because they have access to their own kitchen facilities, it's not mandatory. So to go over our traditional style residences, As I've said, they have single and double rooms available, common shared bathrooms, and those may be communal style bathrooms, so washrooms where you walk in and there are multiple stalls with toilet facilities and with showers and sinks, and you're sharing that with the other students on the floor. Or they might be shared single stall residences, so those are fully enclosed rooms with the toilet, shower, and sink to offer a little bit more privacy. And then the dining plan is required. And our trad residences also offer common rooms for events. So you'll see in the photo, that's the exterior of one of our traditional style residences. That's Winter's residence. But the buildings that offer traditional style rooms are Founders, Stong, Tatham Hall, Atkinson, Vanier, Winters, and half of our Bethune residence. And you'll see the little markers beside some of the buildings. That up arrow marker just indicates that that building does not offer elevator access, and the star indicates that that building offers some shared single stall washrooms. So here's some photos of our traditional style residences. On the left, you'll see a traditional style single room. I believe that's in Vanier residence. And on the right, you'll see a traditional style double room, and that's in Tatham Hall residence, just to give you a sense of what the inside of those buildings looks like. And this is the floor plan of a traditional style residence. So you'll see all along the outside, this is one of our tower residences. You'll see the single and the double rooms. So there are more single rooms available than double rooms in most of our traditional residences. And then in the middle, you'll see the washrooms. So that larger washroom would be one of the communal washrooms, and then the two smaller washrooms below it would be our shared single stall washrooms. This residence has two elevators and then a common room kind of off to the right side there. All of our traditional residences are structured a little bit differently, but this is kind of the general gist of what you could expect in a traditional style. So our suite style residences also offer single and double rooms in between 2 and 12 person suites, depending on the building. They offer semi-private bathrooms, so you're sharing only with those who you are sharing the suite with. Kitchen appliances to cook for yourself, and then the dining plan is optional. So this photo is the exterior of our Calumet residence, and Calumet offers 6-person suites. The half of Bethune that is suite style offers 4 and 12-person suites, depending on the floor. And Pond Residence offers 2-person suites. And again, you'll see that marker next to Calumet indicating that Calumet does not have elevator access. So similar to our traditional style, these are photos of the bedrooms of the suite style residences. They don't look too different. They're generally structured pretty similarly. The main difference between traditional and suite style really is the structure of the floor and who you're sharing your facilities with. And this is the floor plan of a suite style residence. I believe this is Calumet. So you'll see at the bottom, you've got the 4 single rooms, and then there's a double room in that top left corner. You're sharing 2 washrooms with the other students in that suite. And then you've got the lounge and the kitchen area that's also shared with those other students in the suite. And each suite is key card access, so nobody can get into your suite besides those who are living in it and then housing staff as necessary. So that's a broad overview of the Kiel residences. I want to quickly touch on Glendon residences now. As a smaller campus, it only offers 2 residences right now. That's the Wood and the Hilliard residences. This photo is the exterior of Wood residence. So these residences both feature single and double rooms. They are traditional style residences with some semi-private suite options available. The floors at Wood and Hilliard are both mixed gender, with 1 female only wing in Wood residence for those students who would prefer to live only with other female students. And at both Wood and Hilliard residence, dining plans are required, same as at Kiel with the traditional residences. And then to briefly touch on Markham Housing, it's brand new. This year we opened it for the first time. It's actually located off campus, about 1.2 kilometers away from the Markham campus in downtown Markham. You can see here a photo of the exterior. It is a condo building, so students are sharing the facilities of the condo with non-students who live there, but the units that students are living in are fully owned by York University, and we provide the same residence life support to those students at Markham as we do at Kiel and Glendon. So they are single and double rooms in shared 3 to 4 person in suites. We offer single gender and mixed gender suites, and there is free shuttle transportation to the Markham campus from the residence. There's also free transportation to the Kiel campus from Markham. And no dining plan option is available because in-suite kitchens are provided at Markham. So to touch on dining plans a little bit, for this year, we have the traditional style dining plan options and the suite style dining plan options. And for the most part, they are the same, except for that in Suite Style, we also offer a Suite Convenience plan. This is a lower price, smaller plan for those students who may be cooking a little bit in their suites, but also would like that added support of having a dining plan for those days where you may just not want to cook. There are three meal plan options available in traditional style, and those are the entry plan, the standard plan, and the premium plan. The entry plan is the smallest and the lowest price at $5,650 for the year. The premium plan is the largest at $6,950. When you're thinking about what meal plan is right for you, I would think about how often you eat and what you're eating. So often, for example, our varsity athletes may choose a larger dining plan because they tend to eat more often, or maybe on a specialized diet where they need to be eating more frequently or certain meals that may cost more. So if you're somebody who is an athlete or you're thinking about that, you may want to go for a larger meal plan, but you can always add money to your meal plan. And you can always reach out to the dining plan office as well if you have questions about what might be right for you. And then in the Suite Style has the same options with that added Suite Convenience plan. And as a reminder, students living in traditional style residence are required to purchase a dining plan, whereas they are optional for students living in a Suite Style residence. And we don't currently have a dining plan option available at the Markham campus. In terms of accommodation needs, we do strive to meet the needs of students with specific medical requirements and physical disabilities. When you're filling out your housing application form, you'll be asked a few questions about if you do require any accommodations and how we can best support you, just so that we have an understanding of what your needs are so that we can find you a room or a facility that fits all of those needs. At the Kiel campus specifically, we provide adapted units for wheelchair users and rooms outfitted with visual alarms. That's a couple examples of the accommodations we provide, but we work very closely with student accessibility services here on campus to make sure that every student is accommodated to the best of our ability. And those accommodations are available at Glendon and Markham as well. So please be honest when filling out your housing application if you have any accommodation requirements, just so that we best understand how we can support you. So to speak a little bit about why you may choose to live in residence, you have a lot of options as a student coming to York. You can live on or off campus. So some of the reasons that students tend to choose to live in residence, especially for their first year, one of those reasons is financial benefits. I know that residence can be expensive. Unfortunately, all living options these days are very expensive. But a benefit of living in residence is that you're signing an 8-month contract as opposed to the typical 12-month lease that you would be signing at a regular rental in Toronto. So the 8th-month contract, you're only locked in for those months that you'll be here for school, so September through April, and you're only paying for those months, whereas when you're signing a 12-month lease, you are on the hook to pay for that full 12 months, even if you are, say, going home for the summer. There's also a reduced travel and utilities expenses. Utilities, so electricity, internet, hydro, all of that are included in your residence fees. And you're typically not paying to travel to campus because you're living on campus. So it reduces some of those fees that you may be paying for gas or for public transit. The sense of community and belonging is another thing I hear a lot from students living in residence about why they choose to live here. Our residence life team is fantastic. They provide a huge variety of social, educational opportunities. They do events every month to help students make friends and to learn a little bit more about being a part of a community, as well as valuable skills, job skills, growing as individuals. All of those things are things that our residence life team really strives to give to the students living in residence. And I know a lot of students have told me that they've made some of their best friends while living in residence. So it's a great way to meet people, especially on a campus as large as the Kiel campus. Residence life really helps bring you down to a smaller community so you can actually meet and interact with people. In terms of academic success, there's quite a bit of evidence that living on campus has a positive impact on students' overall grades, retention into the second year, and graduation rates. I've linked an article about that kind of at the bottom of the screen here if you're interested in reading more about what the benefits of living in residence are, but there's been quite a bit of research on it, and it tends to be quite a positive skew between academic success and living in residence, especially for that first year. And proximity to classes, your reduced travel time getting to and from classes, it gives you a lot of extra time to, focus on your studies or get involved with extracurriculars on or off campus or even having a part-time job. And it's easier to have an on-campus job or be involved in clubs and things like that because you're already living here, so you're not having to worry about, getting home really late in the night. So to speak a bit about what the housing application process looks like, our housing applications are open now. And they're currently available through the Apply for Residence page at our housing website, yorku.ca/housing. And students are eligible to apply once you have applied to a full-time degree program at York. So you are not required to have received your acceptance yet. Even if you haven't, I recommend applying if you're thinking about choosing York. Um, you'll only receive an offer for residence once you've been accepted to your program, but you can always submit that application for housing as long as you've applied to a full-time program. So for our residence application process, as I said, you would navigate to yorku.ca/housing. Once you're there, you can click on the prospective Keele undergraduate main page and click apply, and this will take you to the housing portal page. And we recommend bookmarking that because you'll be returning to this page quite a few times throughout your application process. You'll log in with your Passport York credentials, which you should have received once you applied, and then click apply now to begin the application process. And I'll speak a little bit to what that process is going to look like. So it looks long, I know. It really does not take more than 15 to 20 minutes in total for most students. And you don't need to complete it in one sitting. You can return to it at any time. As long as you click save and continue before you exit the application, it'll save to whatever point in the application you're at. But it's going to cover in total these topics. So it'll go a little bit into applicant information, and this is just where we find out a little bit about you, your preferred name, your gender identity, preferred pronouns, things like that. We'll ask you for an emergency contact. This is just somebody that we can contact if there ever is an emergency, somebody that we can get in touch with on your behalf. Your housing preference. So this is where we'll ask you about if you prefer to live in a single gender community, a mixed gender community, or a gender inclusive community. We'll ask you for your room and your building preferences. So what residence buildings you would prefer to live in, you get to pick two. And what kind of room you would like to live in, whether that's a suite style, a traditional style, a double room, a single room, you'll have the option to share that there. Your lifestyle preferences, this is where we ask you questions about things like noise levels that you prefer, what time you like to wake up and go to bed. And we do this to help you find a roommate who's compatible with you. So at York, we offer a roommate matching process for students living in residence where you'll get to go into our roommate matching module and you'll see the profiles of all the other students who are looking for roommates, and you have the option to message them, but you can also see what their answers were to the lifestyle preference questions to see who may be most compatible with you. We also have an option for you to show the people who are most compatible to you based on those questions to make it easy to find somebody who you would feel comfortable living with and sharing that space with. The next section would be accommodated housing, which is kind of what we just talked about, but that's where we'll ask you some questions about if you require any accommodations for your residence room and how we can best help with that. We'll then ask about dietary accommodations and preferences. So we'll ask you some questions about, if you have any dietary restrictions, any severe food allergies, you'll have the option to share that there. And your dietary preferences. So the dining office will ask some questions about what food options you would like to see while you're eating at the dining halls, what types of cuisines you prefer, and they take that data and they use that to decide what their menu for the year is going to look like. Then you'll have the option to choose your dining plan. Notice that you are choosing your dining plan before you are receiving your residence room. You'll have the option at any point to come back in and change your dining plan selection. So don't feel locked into what you've selected. At this point, this is just so that we have an idea of what dining plan you're kind of looking for. And then you'll have the chance to share any additional information with us that you might like. So once you've gone through all those sections, in order to complete your application, you'll be required to pay a $250 application fee. $100 of that is non-refundable. The other $150, if you choose to cancel your application before you've received an offer, we will refund that to you. Otherwise, if you accept your offer and you move into residence, that $150 goes towards your residence fees, so you're not losing that money. And then we just ask that you ensure that you've read the current/new students FAQs that are on our website, as well as the residence occupancy agreements and the rates and the application cancellation policy. So you have a full understanding of what you're signing up for, what the relevant policies are surrounding the payments that you're making, and what you're agreeing to when you are signing to live in residence. Per our application cancellation process, I shared a little bit about it just now, but I ask that you refer to the policy on our website to get a full understanding of what our application and reservation cancellation policy is before you submit a cancellation form. But if you are choosing to cancel your application or your room reservation, you must complete our application cancellation form, and that's located on the housing website as well. Please read through it fully and in its entirety and email us with any questions that you have before submitting it. We want to make sure that you have a full understanding of what that cancellation process is before you are choosing to cancel, just so that you know what fees you may be required to pay versus what you may be refunded, depending on when you're canceling your application. So next steps at that point, once you've submitted your application, we begin sending out offers in March, and then we continue through the spring and summer. So if you're not receiving an offer right away, don't be too worried. We continue sending offers all the way through into August. But if you are concerned, please feel free to reach out to us. In order to accept your residence offer, once you receive one, you'll be required to pay a $750 deposit to secure your space. That deposit, much like the $150 from your application fee, will go towards your residence fees once you've moved in. And once you've accepted your offer, in April, we're opening roommate matching to select a roommate. And this summer, we're actually launching room self-selection for the first time, and this will allow students the opportunity to select their own room in residence. Previously, we've asked for your preferences, and we've assigned you a room to the best of our ability based on your preferences, subject to the availability of those rooms. But this year, students are going to have the opportunity to just pick their own room. You'll see the rooms that are available in that module, and you'll be able to pick which room you want to live in. And we'll share more information about room self-selection within the coming months. We anticipate that opening around midsummer, so June, July. Also new this year is our 4-year International Student Residence Guarantee. So first-year international students who are coming directly from an out-of-province or foreign high school who will be attending York University in fall 2025 are guaranteed a space in residence and are guaranteed a 4-year on-campus housing/residence guarantee if you choose to opt in and if you complete a housing application by May 1st, 2025 and accept your admission to the university by the deadline. So those who are eligible for the guarantee will see that on their residence application, and you'll have the opportunity to opt into the guarantee or not to opt in if you're not interested in this. And I encourage you to visit our housing website for more information on who exactly is eligible for the guarantee and how to maintain eligibility. For instance, if you choose not to live in residence for one of your 4 years, you're no longer eligible for the guarantee. So I really recommend if you're going to opt into this to understand the eligibility requirements so you don't accidentally lose your eligibility. So that is a very broad overview of on-campus housing. I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have about that after the presentation, but I do want to speak a bit to off-campus housing as well, as there are options. So our off-campus housing website is also located on our housing website, and you can see it at the top if you click on off-campus housing. And this is where we share some resources for students who either have lived in residence before and are thinking about moving off campus, or who know right off the bat they want to live off campus during their time at York. And so this is really where you can begin your search. And so we have 2 options listed on our website for starting your search, and that's our Forstay Marketplace and the Quad. And I'll talk a little bit about more about both of those. And we also have the off-campus resource hub, and this is where we keep all of our information about renting in the general Toronto area, your rights and responsibilities as a tenant in Toronto, and general information about safety when you're renting. So if you're thinking about going off campus, I really recommend taking a read through our off-campus resource hub before doing any of that. There are a lot of little things that you'll want to know about renting, and especially about renting safely, and we try to keep all of that information there for easy access for you. So this is a look at our Forstay Marketplace. We launched this past summer, and this is essentially where we keep all of the listings near the Keele and the Markham campuses. We partnered with Forstay, who's a student housing company, and they helped us locate rentals and listings in the area that are safe and legitimate. They verify these listings themselves, which has been really helpful. These days are a lot of rental scams out there, and so having this platform has allowed us to connect students with rentals that we know are legitimate and we know have been vetted by people that we trust. And so this is what you'll see when you log onto the Forstay Marketplace. As long as you're a York student, you can sign in with your passport at York and you'll have access to this platform for free. And you can choose the Keele or the Markham campus, depending on what location you're looking for, and then the dates that you're looking to stay in housing, and click search, and it'll return a whole bunch of results about what's available right now. And so the listings are vetted, they're safe, they're legitimate, and you can actually see on each listing what stage of the verification process they're at. So I recommend choosing listings that are fully verified, and you can even filter for that through the platform. Most listings on this platform are for 12-month leases. There are limited shorter stays available for those who are only looking for a 1 or 2 semester stay, but make sure that you understand the minimum stay on each listing before you're choosing to rent from them. You can scan that QR code to access the Forstay Marketplace, or you can access it through our website. So when you're navigating the Forstay Marketplace, this is a little bit what it'll look like, you'll see on the very right side, there's a map that shows the location of each rental and their proximity to the Kiel campus or the Markham campus, which is very helpful. You can use the filters at the top of the page to narrow down your search. So you can input, your budget, your housing search checklist. If you're doing any of that when you're thinking about a rental, you can use that as the basis for what filters you're setting. As there's a lot of options, I recommend using the price slider to set a minimum and a maximum price. So you're only looking at things within your price range. And then under your stay type, you can select to either rent the entire place, which is a full apartment or house, townhouse, whatever it is for yourself, a private room, which would be shared accommodations with your own private bedroom, or a shared room, which would be you're sharing a bedroom in a shared accommodation. Under property type, you can choose if you want to rent a house or an apartment, a townhouse, a dorm, a hostel, and then you can use the price slider to set your minimum and maximum price. The quad is an off-campus housing option that's located actually right on the border of the Kiel campus, so it is very close proximity to York. So a lot of students find that beneficial. It's off-campus, so you aren't receiving any of that residence life support that students on campus are receiving, but it does allow for a little bit more independent living. So if that's something that you're looking for, it's a great option for that. You can view the Quad website through our off-campus website. If you're thinking about renting at the Quad, they have their rates listed. You can do a video tour. They offer fully amenitized living, so you have kitchen access. They have a gym, a lot of game rooms, a lot of common areas. So it's a great option for students who are looking to make that community, who are wanting to live close to the Kiel campus, but who are not looking specifically to live in residence. A lot of upper year students enjoy living at the Quad. So definitely take a look at their website if you think it's something that you could be interested in. And then this is kind of a glimpse at our off-campus resource hub. So you'll see the off-campus living button where you can view information about searching for housing, financial planning, tenant responsibilities, information about requesting maintenance, all of those things will be under our off-campus living portfolio. University resources, so you can learn about the Office of Student Community Relations, counseling, health and well-being, student engagement, transportation, and then student safety resources. So things like fire safety guidelines, the York U Safety app, which I really recommend downloading, the Rent Safe Toronto, and safety tips for international students specifically. So definitely take some time to browse through these resources, especially if you're thinking about going off campus. It'll be really valuable to kind of have an understanding about what your responsibilities are as a tenant and what a landlord's responsibilities look like. It'll help you avoid things like scam rentals or being asked for things that aren't legal, certain types of deposits, all of those things that you'll want to avoid. We have information on this website. And then we also have some city and community resources. Tribunals Ontario, the Landlord and Tenant Board, provides a lot of guidance on resolving disputes between landlords and tenants. So something that you might not need right now, but if you're ever in a situation where you are renting and you're having some kind of dispute, if you feel like you're being treated unfairly or your landlord is doing something illegal, the Landlord and Tenant Board should be your first stop for understanding if what they are doing is illegal and what steps you can take to protect yourself. Rent Safe Toronto offers a lot of resources regarding things like building evaluations, maintenance standards, forms, templates. They can really help you understand if a rental is legitimate if you're not quite sure. And you can reach out to them directly. They do a lot of one-on-one assistance for those who are thinking about renting but aren't sure if it's safe. So they provide a lot of help, and I really recommend reaching out to them if you're ever not sure. Toronto rental housing and tenant information is a lot of general information about eviction laws, housing standards, finding housing in Toronto, legal help, understanding the specific Toronto-specific rules and regulations around renting.
Oh, there you go. Thank you very much, Aaron, for your informative session. I understand this is quite a lot of information for the students, so I would like to mention that if you'd want to refer back to Aaron's presentation, you can always visit York International Spiravo webinar website to rewatch the recording of this particular webinar at your best convenience. I hope the students have had an opportunity to learn more about how York University can support you in terms of on and off campus housing. We'll now be opening the floor to any questions that you folks may have. Feel free to use the Q&A feature to submit your questions, and then Aaron will be addressing them accordingly. As we give everyone a bit of time to type in their questions, I'd like to go over a few commonly asked questions we have actually received from previous webinars, and these might address some of the concerns that you folks may not have thought of yet, and hopefully they'll give you some additional insights. But before we go over to the commonly asked questions, I do see a question in the chat which says they would like to ask more about transportation. What's the best way to get around campus, whether this is bus, subway, or train, and do students get discounts on public transportations?
Yeah, so in terms of getting around the Kiel campus, it's a very walkable campus, I would say. You can cross campus in around 20 to 30 minutes by walking. However, there are some buses that'll take you from one end of the campus to the other. And we also offer free shuttles that you can book using our transportation app that you can find on the transportation website that'll take you between Kiel and Glendon campus and Kiel and Markham campus in around 30 minutes, so not too bad. There's also two TTC subway stops located on the Kiel campus. There's the Pioneer Village station and the York University station. So that can take you from around the north tip of the campus to around the middle of the campus. But for the rest, York is very walkable and offers a lot of indoor routes as well for during the winter months, which is very helpful when you're trying to cross campus, but you don't want to be freezing. But there are a few options for getting around. And then in terms of transportation discounts, I'm actually not 100% sure. I don't know if Tirth or Eugen, if you have any information on that.
Yes, so we do in fact have student discounts on transportation, whether that's Toronto Transit Council or TTC, or whether that's Go Transit. We do have discounts, and conveniently enough, we do have a webinar, which is sometime next week. I'll be touching it more on the upcoming session, which is called Financial Planning for International Students, where we will guide you more about information on discounts on public transportation and much more. So please do keep tuned. I will mention more about it in a few minutes' time. Moving on to the other question. Shazad is asking us, how can I assess the prices for different accommodations on the Kiel campus?
Absolutely. So we do have a rates page on our housing website. If you go through the Kiel campus button on the housing website and you click prospective undergraduate residences and then you go into rates, we actually break down the rates by building and then also by room types. You can see, if you're thinking about moving into a double room in Stong versus a single room in Calumet, you can assess what the price for that would be for the full year. If you're thinking about just coming for the winter semester, all you have to do is cut that rate in half and you'll have your price for that semester. And same with the dining plan, you can always just cut it in half if you're only coming for one semester. But I really recommend taking a look at our rates page. It's up to date with the rates for the upcoming 2025 to 2026 term. So you can use that as the basis for your decision making regarding finances.
Thank you, Aaron. Just to mention to the student that the link for residence rates for the Kiel campus has been dropped in the chat if you'd like to refer to it. And also going back to the student who asked about the transportation student discounts, we also do have a link that has been posted in the chat. It has the heading Post-Secondary Students Monthly Pass in case you'd like to refer to that particular link. Moving on to the next question, one of the students is asking, is the $250 application fee refunded if the student does not end up in that housing?
So if we don't offer you housing or if you choose to cancel before we've made you a housing offer, it is refundable and all you have to do is email us and submit your application cancellation form and we will refund that to you. If you have received a residence offer and you're choosing to decline it, it is not refundable. The only other situation that some students find themselves in is if their visa is denied. And in that case, you have 10 days to notify us and we will refund your application fee and your deposit in that situation.
Okay, thank you very much, Aaron. Moving on to the other question. One of the students is asking if there is financing for the on-campus residents.
In terms of financing, I would recommend reaching out to Student Financial Services to see what options are available. We don't offer any financing options specifically through housing. So any financial assistance or options would be through them.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much, Aaron. I'll move on towards our frequently asked questions. So I know we've touched on this question quite a bit in your presentation, but just to reiterate for the students so they can understand it more, will I get to choose a particular residence building that I would like to stay in?
So to an extent, yes. This year with us introducing room self-selection, most students will have the option to choose the specific building and room that they want to live in. There are a few select students who may not have access to room self-selection, and those are students who may require a very specifically accommodated room. If they have specific accommodation needs, there may just be a limited variety of those rooms available. But the vast majority of students will have the option to choose the room and the building that they stay in. Students will receive a time slot that they can go into the room self-selection module, so very similar to picking your courses. You'll get a time slot that you'll have access, and your access will remain open, so there's no end to that access, but there is a start. And you'll have access to all the rooms that are available at that time. So if you want a room in a specific building, we can't guarantee that it'll still be available at the time that you have access to the module, but you will have your choice of all of the rooms available at the time that you enter the module.
Good. Thank you very much, Aaron. I have one of the students who's asking us, when is the deadline for paying the residence and the meal fee?
So residence fees will be due in two installments. So you'll pay your first installment of the fees in September on September 10th, and that'll be the first half for the fall semester. And the second half will be due January 10th for the winter semester.
Good. Thank you, Aaron. I'll transition over to the next question. Can I apply for York apartment housing as an undergraduate student?
So in most cases, no. We reserve York Apartments housing primarily for our graduate students. If you are an undergraduate student coming in with a family, so a spouse and or children, please reach out to us and we will work with you to see what's available and if we can accommodate you in York Apartments, but that would be kind of the only situation.
Okay, sounds good. Moving on to the next question. Can I decline a room offer and still be considered for another residence?
In a sense, yes. And my hope is that this will be less of a case this year because of room self-selection. So you're picking your own room offer, really. But in the event that you aren't receiving a room offer that you like and you want to be considered for something else, you can decline. You'll have to reapply, though, and your application will be considered at the time of that reapplication. So essentially, you're getting kind of put to the bottom of that wait list at that point. But if we still have rooms available, you most likely will receive another offer. We just can't guarantee if or when that would be. So my advice would be if you are receiving a room offer and it's not to your preference, but you don't want to be put to the bottom of the wait list and risk not getting a room, you can always move in and submit a transfer form. Our transfer forms open in October, and they are also waitlist based. So the sooner you get it in once it opens, the better. And then we would move you to a new room as one becomes available.
That's good. Thank you very much, Aaron. We have a student who is asking us, can I apply for the suite style residence as a first-year student?
Absolutely, yes. Although I say that traditional style tends to be preferred by first-year students, we absolutely do allow first-year students to apply for suite style, and you'll have the option in room self-selection to pick a suite style room if you choose to.
Moving on to the other question, one of the students is asking us, does the $750 deposit have a deadline to be paid after accepting the residence offer? Sorry.
Yes, so you'll receive that deadline in your offer email. It'll say exactly when you have to pay it by. It's typically about 3 days after you receive your offer that you would be expected to pay that deposit. And if it's not paid by that deadline, your offer will be canceled and you would have to reapply for residence. So strongly recommend paying that before the deadline.
Thank you, Aaron. These are all some really amazing questions to the students. Please keep asking your questions. We have Aaron over here who is more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Moving back to the frequently asked questions, are we allowed to bring kitchen appliances like toasters to the residence?
So typically no. We ask the students don't just because they can present a significant fire hazard and we don't allow them to be kept in the bedrooms. If you're living in a suite style accommodation, you'll have those kitchen appliances given to you. And in traditional style residence, although there's no kitchen appliances, there is a microwave available in the common rooms for students to use.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Moving on to our last question, which touches more on off-campus housing. Does York provide support to find a roommate for off-campus housing?
Unfortunately, we don't currently have a formal support resource for finding a roommate for off-campus housing. My recommendation to students who are looking for roommates is to connect with those who are either in their classes or if you're living in residence already, to connect with those who are living in residence with you to kind of find somebody that you know already a little bit and can trust to live with. But unfortunately, we don't have anything right now. It's something that we're looking into, but we don't have a specific resource at the moment.
Sounds good. I believe that's it for our questions. Thank you everyone for all those amazing questions. We'll now be taking a look at a few of our upcoming webinars and events. Thank you, Aaron, for, of course, doing this amazing presentation and answering our questions. To the students, a quick reminder that you can continue to use the Q&A feature if you have any more questions during this portion of the webinar, and we'll be addressing them at the end of the presentation. Another small reminder before we continue, all the links for registration to these events will be placed in the chat for ease of reference. Join us for a quick and helpful session on study permit applications at 9 a.m. on March 19th, where we'll cover common reasons for refusals and share tips to make your application much stronger. For this session, once you pay your deposit and receive your provincial attestation letter or your PAL, you'll get an email with a link to a calendar to sign up for the study permit support session. Please, please, please do note that this session is designed only for students who have already paid their deposit. So if you haven't yet paid your deposit, it would be a great time to take that step and secure a spot at York University. Managing finances in a new country can be very challenging. That's why our webinar on financial planning for international students provides an overview of the general cost of living in Canada, including the cost of studies, living expenses, and much more. You will also learn about the various kinds of financial aid that are available for international students, such as scholarships, awards, or bursaries. You'll also learn about financial resources and budgeting tips available to you, allowing you to make more informed decisions about your finances. I know we had a few questions in the Q&A related to finances in Canada. So if you folks have any more questions about them, I would suggest you join the webinar we have on March 27th, so that you can have your questions answered there as well. Here we have our York International Events calendar that will tell you more about the dates and times of other webinars we have coming up. And you'll also be able to register for these events directly from the events calendar. So I would highly, highly recommend that you folks bookmark this particular website to your browser for ease of reference, so that you can easily navigate or look for the different webinars that York International has to offer for you folks. Before we wrap up, we'd like to encourage everyone to stay connected with us through our social media channels. By following us, you'll receive important updates, event announcements, and opportunities to engage with the York community. Before we end today's webinar, I'll take a quick look at the chat to see if there are any last-minute questions. And I do see a question in the chat. Aaron, one of the students is asking us, how long after applying for residence will we receive an offer?
So it does depend. We try to send out offers as quickly as possible. For first-year students, I believe they will start around June. So if you're an incoming first-year student, you have a little bit of a wait. But typically after that beginning of June, once you've submitted an application, if you're fully eligible, so you don't have a financial block, or and if you've accepted your admission to the university and all of that, you can expect to receive an offer usually within about 2 weeks.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Moving on to the other question, is there a deadline to accept the housing offer?
So once you've been offered, the deadline will be in the email for you. So it's usually around 3 days after you've been given the residence offer. And to accept that offer, all you'd have to do is go back into the housing portal. You'll be expected to pay a $750 deposit to secure that space. And then there'll be a few other things that you'll need to do, like signing our residence occupancy agreement. And once you've done that, you'll have accepted.
Awesome. Since we have no more questions, thank you all once again for attending. Thank you, Aaron, for being present in this webinar. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at future webinars and events. Thank you, everyone.